That voice in your head whispering, "They disrespected you or you're better than this." That's not wisdom talking, that's your ego playing tricks on you. And if you don't learn to see through it, it'll destroy your relationships, happiness, and growth. Ego is a funny thing, kind of like an invisible co-pilot that sneaks into our lives and starts commenting on everything. Did you hear how he spoke to you? Are you just going to let him talk like that? Look at how amazing you are. No one can compete with you. You might think it's a loyal partner, always there to lift you up, but in reality, it's often a source of complication. You're in a video game where ego is the secondary character who follows you everywhere, always ready to offer his opinion, point out your failures, or flatter you with every success. Sometimes it's helpful, a little boost to start a difficult quest, but often it's exhausting. Ego can take up so much space, becoming annoying, but why is it so present? Maybe because it protects us in its own way. It wants to convince us that we are special, unique, that our opinions matter more than others. It can be reassuring, even though it's sometimes an illusion. Thinking about it, I realize ego can be both a valuable ally and a formidable enemy. It can push us to accomplish great things, to surpass ourselves, but it can also blind us and isolate us. For example, how many arguments and misunderstandings have started from pride and arrogance? How many times have I chosen to be right rather than seek the truth? And that's where it gets interesting. We might think ego is essential, that it helps us move forward, improve, but is that really the case? Could it be more of a shield that prevents us from seeing reality as it is? This feeling of superiority, this constant need for validation, doesn't it end up isolating us? Look around you, how many people spend their lives chasing after recognition, trying to prove they're the best, the smartest, the strongest. We might think that's the ultimate goal, to be recognized, admired. But in reality, does that really make us happy? Does it give our lives a deeper meaning? Imagine a world where ego doesn't dictate our actions, a world where we seek to connect with others, not to impress, but to understand and share. Where we accept our imperfections and failures without making them a personal tragedy. A world where we free ourselves from the constant need to prove something and are simply content to be. And that's when we turn to philosophy, starting with our good old Nietzsche. For him, ego could be seen as both a necessary and problematic force. On one hand, it pushes us to affirm our will to power, the desire to surpass our limits, to fully realize ourselves. It's thanks to ego that we have this drive to want more, to not settle for what is, and to strive to become what we truly are, according to his terms. But Nietzsche also warns us about the dangers of an inflated ego. He often talks about the Bermensch Superman, a figure who transcends ego through a higher awareness, the ability to reinvent oneself, and not be trapped by fixed identities or roles imposed by society. Ego, if not controlled, can become a gilded prison. It chains us to illusions of grandeur, distancing us from our true nature, preventing us from living authentically. In fact, Nietzsche encourages a kind of creative destruction of ego, destroying the old structures of our identity, those false certainties that limit our potential. Only by breaking these chains can we truly access our essence and become what we are destined to be. It's, therefore, a process of perpetual transformation. Okay, so according to Nietzsche, ego shouldn't be entirely rejected, but rather transcended. It's about recognizing its presence, understanding its mechanisms, and using it as a tool for personal development, but never as an end in itself. Ego should be used in the service of our creative will, not as a tyrant dictating our actions and thoughts. I've experienced this myself, during an evening with friends where everyone was sharing their latest achievements. Someone talks about their promotion, another about their latest exotic trip. Everything sounds incredible, everything's amazing. And of course, you start comparing yourself. Your ego, stung, pushes you to tell a slightly embellished story to avoid looking left behind. The result? You feel a bit uncomfortable, like you've betrayed a part of yourself just to shine in the eyes of others. That evening taught me something essential. Ego constantly seeks validation and recognition, but at what cost? When we start living to satisfy our ego, we risk losing sight of what truly matters: authenticity and sincerity. They dissolve into an endless quest for prestige and power. Talking with those same friends later, I realized we all share this struggle. Each of us has insecurities and moments of doubt. Paradoxically, it's this vulnerability that makes us human and brings us closer to each other. Admitting we have flaws, That we're not perfect reminds me of Montaigne's essays. He acknowledged the complexity of ego, navigating between vanity and humility. For him, self-knowledge involved accepting contradictions and living in alignment with our inner truths. Ego, therefore, is double-edged. On one hand, it pushes us to surpass ourselves, to believe in our abilities. On the other, it can enslave us to our image and distance us from others. Finding a balance between these two aspects is incredibly complex. Learning to listen to our ego without letting it take full control is a massive undertaking. But how can we navigate our lives with a better understanding of these profound philosophical concepts? Simply by becoming aware of our ego and its manifestations. It's a daily exercise of introspection and questioning. Why do I feel the need to prove something in this situation? What fear or insecurity lies behind this desire for recognition? By identifying these mechanisms, we can begin to loosen ego's grip on our actions and thoughts. If you want to tame your ego, you must first understand it. It's a bit like a noisy roommate, you need to get to know it. Otherwise, you'll never be able to quiet it down when it starts talking too much. When you feel the urge to prove you're right, stop for a second. Why do you feel that way? Ask yourself questions. On one hand, there's a part of you that wants to shine, that's always ready to fight. And on the other, there's a calmer side that prefers peace. Which one will you let win? Identify those moments when your ego takes control. This will allow you to step back and not always listen to it. Because, spoiler alert, your thoughts don't define you. They're like TV channels, you choose which one to keep. So, you can afford to flip through some thoughts. They're there, but they're not yours. You don't have to listen to them, much less believe them. Choose the thoughts that make you feel good, that help you move forward. The ones that stress you out or make you angry. Turn down the volume on them. Accept that ego is part of you. Recognize when it starts to take too much space. Instead of fighting it, tell yourself it's there to protect you even if it doesn't always get it right. Ego wants to prove that you exist, that you have value. Sometimes it helps you surpass yourself, to achieve great things. But don't let it become the leader of everything. Think of your ego like a stressed-out boss. It wants everything to go well, but when something goes wrong, it panics. Accept that part of you, recognize it's there to help, but don't let it take control. And above all, detach yourself from the image you have of yourself. Ego loves to make you believe that you are what you think you are. But in reality, you're much more than that. Don't limit yourselves to your beliefs, your degrees, or your social status. Reconnect with your true nature. Praise yourself and love yourself when you notice your ego taking over. Look at that part of you with kindness. Ask yourself if this is really how you want to react. Learn to truly know yourself, without any pretense. In summary, transcending ego means recognizing its presence, understanding its mechanisms, and using that awareness to grow and surpass yourself. As Nietzsche said, it's about becoming what we truly are, beyond illusions of grandeur and external recognition. So, get to know yourself truly and appreciate others as they are. You'll realize that the people around you are not better than you, and you're not better than them either. Everyone is different, with their own life expectations. If you're still here, thanks for taking the time to watch the video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time for more reflections.